it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today sees the start of my 13 days of Halloween. I've decided to do 13 Halloween projects on the basis that 13 is often considered an unlucky number, and Halloween is that kind of unlucky, lucky event. Anyway, so this is the project that I am starting with. It's just a little table gift or trick-or-treat, very generous trick-or-treat gift, and it uses the Spooky Night Designer Series paper and the Spooky Cat stamp set, together with the can't grab it, the Labels to Love stamp set. The Labels to Love stamp set goes with the Everyday Label Punch, but isn't the one that is part of the bundle. That's the Merry Little Labels, I want to say. Yes, Merry Little Labels. So Merry Little Labels and the Everyday Label Punch come together as a bundle, but this also matches those the punch. And it's this one, obviously, that we're going to be using, which is Trick or Treat. Have a haunting Halloween, something wicked this way comes, and then there's a 31 down here. So let's get started. It's a fairly quick project, straightforward. So hopefully this won't take too long. As I say, I'm using the Spooky Night Designer Series paper. The boxes are 2-inch cubes. They come flat packed in packets of, I want to say 16. Yes, 16. Now, something just to be aware of. I don't know if you can see if I shine the light. There is this kind of creased bit. This is actually protective wrapping. So if when you look at your boxes you think it's all creased, that's actually good. Because actually what it is pristine underneath the piece of plastic. To make up the boxes, they come flat packed. You need to crease all of the fold lines because it is acetate and it does have a will of its own. So you do want to make sure that everything is well creased. So let's just do that so that we've got it all done. And it's particularly important to make sure the base is creased because once that's together you're kind of done. We all sort of forget bases. Right, so to put it together, don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. There are, I should say, there are instructions in the packet, which is always useful. So there is this little, and it does say remove protective film before assembling. So it does come with instructions, so it's not, you're not having to fend for yourself completely. And what they suggest is that you'll see you've got two flaps that are kind of cut away, that are the same shape, they're mirror image of each other. What you do is you hold those back, but put the flap that's got the cutout down first, then you clip in the two sides, and then you feed in the tab piece with the tab on it, and that then holds it all together. To be honest, you could do it a different way. So you could put your sides in and then feed these through, but it is generally easier to put your front in, clip your sides in, and then just tuck that in. So yeah, okay. I've just used some sweets from, these happen to be from Sainsbury's, milk chocolate pumpkins. Other stores, I have no doubt have them. I have to say I only bought one packet because, as some of you know, I can't eat chocolate. So I don't tend to have a lot of it in the house. But this is just a belly band in effect, so let's share them between the two boxes. In a friendly sort of way. And then it's obviously easier to put it on when you're making it than after you've made it, because it is a tight fit. Snug, I think, is the word one seeks. But it is possible to famous last words. It is possible to put it back together. So there we go. So we now have some sweets in there. So remember, all of the dimensions, when I get there, will be on the blog post that's linked below, and it's pretty much the first thing you see in the information below. So I've taken a piece of the designer series paper and cut it to 2 inches wide. This is 12 inches long. You don't need it to be 12 inches long, so long as it's kind of 8 and maybe 9 would be fine. I tend to wrap it round and then cut off the bit I don't need, so that you know it fits. What I would say is that you want to use a paper that doesn't have a right way and a wrong way. So I wouldn't necessarily use the cats, for example, because you'll have some of them standing on their heads. But you don't want anything with a definite right way up, which I don't think is actually too much of an issue. That's the one I used on the original. I'm using the hats this time. The pumpkins probably are the only one. Oh, and the trees, of course. Apart from the else, they're 3 inches. Each section's 3 inches wide. But the pumpkins, I think, probably not a great idea. And if you were to use the words, the trick or treat words, then some of it would go upside down. So just bear that in mind when you're choosing which of the papers to use, because otherwise you're going to have some things upside down, which is fine, not a problem, but just be aware of that. So you could just wrap this piece of paper round your box. I do like to score it a little first. I mean, I'm just going to do a gentle score. Actually, I'm going to start at the other end, because what I'm going to do is score at 1 inch first, so there's a bit to go underneath. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that should be enough. Yeah. So 1, 3, 5, and 7. As I say, you don't have to use the scoreboard for that, but I do like to make sure it's very, very, very snug. So for me, that means using the scoreboard. But just wrap it round, having scored it. It just helps the scoring actually happen, or the folding to actually happen. And then what I would do is overlap the piece that I know is straight. So I'm just going to cut this piece off with scissors. And then this I'll put so that the cut edge is on top. Excuse me. Fast Fuse. Remember that if you are in Europe, the Fast Fuse offer that is part of World Card Making Day is still valid. The actual fuses are on back order. The refills are available at the moment. But the fuses are on back order, but you will still be able to order them and you will still get them. They'll just arrive a little later as a separate bit of post. So 2 packets instead of 1, which is kind of exciting. So that's that. I know that in North America they have withdrawn the offer because it was just mad. But I know that it will be coming back. So yeah, you won't lose out ultimately, it just won't be at the moment. But in Europe, it is still available. This is pumpkin pie that I'm using, and a piece of very vanilla. It's just a scrap of very vanilla. And then just ink up my stamp. Make sure it's properly inked. Pumpkin pie on red rubber is an interesting ink to see, because it's pretty close. It doesn't matter which way up you stamp it, because we're going to punch it out. Comme ça. So it's meant to be not absolutely pristine on the wording, so don't worry about that. That's all we need the pumpkin pie for. I'll just clean off my stamp before I get too much older. And actually I need to put some more spray on my stamping mist, on my stamping scrub rather. So that's that stamping. I'll do the other stamping while I have ink around, and this is just Memento ink, and this is the hat image Oh, actually, I do need the pumpkin pie back. If I had a brain. If I only had a brain. And again, this is just another scrap of Very Vanilla. Now, this base that I'm working on is padded. Otherwise, I would say use your piercing mat, just not one that you've used for piercing. For the photopolymers, particularly the solid, anything that's got a really solid image, you kind of want that give. So, yeah, just bear that in mind. If you haven't got a piercing mat, they're not expensive, but a pad of magazines or a mouse mat, if you still have one of those. This is the buckle for the top of the front of the hat, so I do actually need the pumpkin pie back. But yeah, you just want something that's going to give a bit of give. On the red rubber, the give is already built into the grey is sponge. But obviously on the photopolymer that's not there, so just bear that in mind. So I'm just inking that up and just hovering over the top and then load aim fire. And there we are. So again, just clean that off, particularly with the red based inks. I like to get them cleaned as quickly as I can so that they don't stain too much. They're still perfectly usable if you get them stained, but yeah. Clean first, clean as quickly as you can. Right, so everyday label punch, in with the label, line it up, punch, and then I've also got, now hidden, a scrap of Tangerine Tango. On the original I used Pumpkin Pie, but Tangerine Tango is in the in that sort of colour family as well. It's actually Cajun Craze on the back here, but I had a scrap of Tangerine Tango and it's only going to show a wee bit, so I'm going to use it. And just punch that. But Pumpkin Pie was on the original, and either Pumpkin Pie, Tangerine Tango or Cajun Craze would work fine. Then I'm just going to cut this one in half, and where's my trusty glue? There we are. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Glue I would be using in preference on this, purely so that I've got a bit of wiggle. But you could use Fast Fuse or Snail. Don't go right to the edge of any of that, because what we're now going to do is just, can you see what I'm doing? Yes, you can. Is just line that up, just to give a little edge, and then the same with the other piece, just to give it that little bit of a pop off the back. And then the lovely vintage crochet ribbon, which is gorgeous. I mean, obviously it's been made to look like a spider's web, but frankly, I think I would use it on anything that happened to have a black in it. So there's the Christmas Designer Series papers that would work very well with this, just as a bit of a different trim. And then all I'm doing is running it round and tying it in a knot at the top. This is what I would call a reef knot, but I think is possibly also known as a square knot. But I come from a sailing background. Used to do a lot of sailing in my youth, so I would call that a reef knot. So that's that. Need some more of that apparently. And I've also got somewhere I tucked away, oh, hidden, a piece of black baker's twine. For that I'm going to cut this hat out, just fussy cut it out. It doesn't have a die, but it's a fairly easy shape. I'm going to not cut too close in, so that when we get to the spider hanging off the top, we can give a bit of a nod to that being fussy cut, because we're actually going to punch a hole there anyway, so we don't want that too narrow. And then over the top, down round the side. Now you could, if you wanted, obviously use a cat instead, which you could punch from the designer series paper, or you could stamp a cat and use the punch. So that is an option if fussy cutting is not your thing. But as I say, this isn't fussy cutting, it's just cutting really. Right, 1/8 inch punch, and I'm just popping that in and making sure that it's in card rather than in air. Punch, whoops, hold that down to release, and there, if I turn that over you can probably see just a little hole. You see that? Yeah, just. Then pop that onto the black baker's twine, which of course is now not going to behave itself. And I won't actually attach it just yet. We've got these lovely black rhinestone jewels, specially for this season. So I'm going to use one of the large ones on the hat, just in the middle of the buckle, and then one of the little baby ones just in the middle of the bat. And then this I'm going to tie so that it's hanging down the front but not too loose. And of course it would be better if I put it so that it was hanging the right way round. I don't know. Just can't get the demonstrators these days, can you? Right, so if I put my knot about there, we should be about right. I'm just trying to hide all of the mess here. There we go. So that it's hidden, really. That is, after all, what hiding is all about. There are moments when I do wonder if I actually have full use of the English language. It seems to be escaping me occasionally. Right, okay, we are nearly there. Hurrah! All I need now, and I know I've got, there they are, is some dimensionals. And this is an ideal moment for using your edge pieces. So I'm just going to cut a couple of edge pieces and pop those there, because we want those to be trapping the ribbons. So you don't want dimensional in the middle, because that would get in the way of your ribbon and make it very lumpy. And then just pop that on there, give it a good press, and there we are, 2 little gift boxes. So I hope you've enjoyed that. As I say, this is 13 Halloween projects that will be back to back. Do remember that if you are looking to use the World Card Making Day offer, that that finishes on the 10th, which is, where are we? Because I film in advance. Tomorrow. So it finishes at tomorrow night. So if you're using the online system, I would be tempted to get your order in by 10 o'clock UK time, just in case. And if you need to phone orders through, then we will need to have that sorted out by mid-afternoon. Remember that I am still doing, until the end of the month, the Merry Patterns prize draw. So when you spend £25 or a multiple thereof in my online store anytime since the beginning of September and the end of October, you'll be entered into the draw for one of these. I have more than one. So for every £25, so if you spend £50, you get 2 entries, 75, 3, etc, etc. So that's only open for the UK, I'm afraid, because it is only for people shopping on my online store. But that would be great if you would like to take part in that. Otherwise, you have to spend £250 to get that. You get it free, but you do have to spend £250 in order to do so. The designer series paper offer which is where you buy 3 of the selected designer series papers and get a 4th free. Runs until the end of October. And if you are thinking of signing up as a demonstrator and would like to include the new blends, stamping blends, which are the alcohol markers, which are due out at some point, we haven't got a definite date, but probably before the end of the year, you can include those in your starter kit, but you'd need to contact me for details. And remember, that's £99 including free shipping for £130 of products. And then you get 20% off your future orders for as long as you stay active. But again, if you want any information about that, let me know. I like to think of that as like a membership. So when you sign up to a gym or something like that, you pay an initial membership. And that's how I kind of look at it. So yeah, whether you want to be an active business demonstrator or just get a discount, either is perfect. And I would love to welcome you to the Stamping Stable Hands team. I think that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you for the next 12 days of Halloween projects. Oh, there will be a second project tonight for the 2nd annual Pink Blog Hop, which is to support cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness. So there will be a second blog post going up tonight. It ties in with US time, so it's at about 11 o'clock, I think, UK time. But so there will be a second post later this evening for that, and I'll probably delay posting my Monday project, so tomorrow's project, until that's had a little while to run. So that may come out a little later, just in case you're worried where my Monday post has gone. That's definitely it. Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'm hoping to get 2,000 subscribers by my birthday at the beginning of November. All you have to do is click the little logo down in the bottom right-hand corner to do that. And once you've subscribed, hit the bell, and you will. There's a little bell icon on the YouTube information, and that means you will get an alert to get to know when I have posted my next video. I will see you soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye!